Hey there everyone, and welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault. We're going to talk about Ubisoft again today, Star Wars Outlaws in particular, and it launched on Steam, so we're going to check in and see how it's doing there. Let's cue up the music and we'll get right to it. Alright, so Star Wars Outlaws sees an abysmal player count in its first 24 hours on Steam. Has Ubisoft failed again? Well, I'm doing this article a little bit later. I wanted to see what Saturday would bring. This showed, I think, the Friday count. I saw the Saturday count peak and then drop. We'll get to that a little bit later. But for now, yeah, it's not doing so good. So it peaked at 1582, it looked like, according to the time this article was written. As the writing, the title Ubisoft admitted underperformed upon its debut has achieved a maximum all-time concurrent player count of 1582. With the weekend coming, that number is expected to rise. However, it remains to be seen by how much. Star Wars Outlaws was a buggy title from launch with game-breaking glitches hindering player progress. Ubisoft offered early access to players who bought the game's special edition. However, a glitch and subsequent update wiped early access save files, utterly undoing the premium benefit for anyone who shelled out the cash. Yeah, I remember that. That was a shame, man, because you pay, I've fallen into that trap before. I won't fall into it again, but you get the game 2-3 days early, 4 days early, whatever, as part of a package. You get a few skins, you get that, you get a special weapon, whatever. It's good for like the first 2 hours of the game, and then it's done. It's junk. But the early access is kind of cool because you get a little jump start on everybody else, right? Even on a single-player game, it's kind of fun, especially if you're creating content, because you can get a little head start on people. If you didn't get an early title to review, like a review title, well, this is the best you're going to get, right? So, it is what it is. To get that and to play and to say, I'm going to advance as much as possible, I'm going to make a whole bunch of content, even if you're not making content, you're just having fun and you want to have bragging rights for your friends or whatever. And you get out there and you're like, yeah, and then all of a sudden, boom, you lost it all. And it's day one, the day one patch comes out, quote unquote, day one patch. And you lose it all. Oh, that sucks. There's nothing, losing progression in a game sucks. A little bit of progression is one thing, an hour, whatever. Even an hour's worth of progression can set me back to where I put the controller down for the night. I'm like, all right, you know what, I'm good. I just did an hour's worth of work for nothing. It's frustrating, it's aggravating, but it's not the end of the world. To lose total progression, that's beyond frustrating. That's why I don't like to play hardcore on games, Forget that. People enjoy that? Good on you, man. There are people that enjoy hardcore. I guess they're masochists. I don't know, man. I don't want to play a hardcore game. I do not want to play a hardcore game. I don't want to log in, and struggle and claw my way up, for hours and hours, maybe days to progress and all that, and then all of a sudden something happens and I die. Especially if it's a glitch that kills me, or if it's something out of my control, a power outage at the wrong time in a survival game, or internet disconnection, whatever. That'll kill me. But yeah, that's what happened to these guys with a day one patch, and that really, really sucked. 4 stealth missions were a nightmare for players due to clunky mechanics and bugs that would forcibly move the player character out of cover. There's a video above that'll show you that. I'll link you to this so you can watch that yourself. The game reportedly sold around 1 million units its first month. Insider Gaming's Grant Taylor Hall wrote, "We have secured a current sales figure from sources close to the game. At the time of writing, Star Wars Outlaws has ticked over 1 million sales worldwide. All available public metrics indicate the game's sales completely stagnated soon after the game released." This is a Star Wars game. It's a huge IP. Huge IP. For all intents and purposes, this game should have knocked it out of the ballpark. Ubisoft is a company that a lot of people know, right? A lot of people know. But their reputation is tarnished lately. Back in the day, 5-10 years ago, this would have been knocked out of the ballpark, especially, because that's before Star Wars was completely destroyed by Disney. That was before Ubisoft had, cut their own throat and bled out and turned to crap. Anyway, Ubisoft eventually admitted that Outlaws underperformed sales expectations, as it's quoted here. That was their words, not ours. And despite this, the developer attempted to spin the game as a positive, noting positive review scores from the Access Media, which is not an indicator of success. Now, you can't trust Access Media. And what we say by Access Media is these are the guys that get the review codes. If they give an honest review that is negative, they're going to lose early access to games. That's just the way it is. These developers are dishonest. And that's a shame. That's not the way it should be. You should be able to, as a developer, take your lumps if you release a piece of garbage. If you put out a game that's subpar, and people call it out, that's fair, right? The consumer should be able to know this ahead of time. You don't trick people into buying your game. That's dishonest. That's very dishonest, and it's a practice that we see day in and day out in this industry, and it's pretty damn gross, to be honest with you. To see that. I mean, these guys are putting out games that are not finished, that are just broken, progression stopping bugs, that'll just keep you from progressing in the game. You hit a brick wall, you can't move forward. You gotta wait for that patch to come out. Terrible things, awful. Anyway, the game achieved solid reviews and user scores across first-party and Epic stores, reflecting one of the most immersive expressions of the Star Wars universe ever created, Ubisoft said with empty pockets. Excuse me. It then assured the public that attempts are underway to improve the game's quality. So what's interesting is they fired the director of this game and brought somebody else on. And that's interesting at this point in the game, because the game's out there, right? And I believe there's some DLC coming out for it. I believe they had a premium edition that includes some upcoming DLC, like 2 major DLCs or something like that. I heard they're planning on making some changes to the game to improve upon it and all that. And if they manage to do that, good for them. At least they're doing that, right? It should have been right from the start. It shouldn't have been a failure from the start. We've seen other companies do this. We saw Hello Games do it with No Man's Sky. We saw Cyberpunk 2077 get fixed by CD Projekt Red. It took them a year and a half to do it and get it into the state where it should have been upon release, but they did it, and now it's people love the game. Phantom Liberty came out and they absolutely love it. That 2.0 update or whatever it was. Phew. This is what these guys have to do when they release a turd. But Ubisoft could have just let this game sit there, and they didn't do that. So as much as I razz these guys and crap on them for what they do and all that, this is maybe it's a step in the right direction for them. I don't know. We'll have to see. It's one thing that they're doing in a sea of bad things that they're doing. One thing that they may be doing right. We're not even seeing what they're doing at this point. So I don't know. Tell me what you think down below. You think Ubisoft's going to drop the ball on this? You think they're just, going to let it die? Just going to let it sit out there? But anyway, at the time I'm doing the video, it peaked at 2163 on Saturday, right? 2163, 2,000 players. Now, this game's been out for a bit. Not on Steam, of course. It only came out, Thursday on Steam? Yeah. So, it hit its high point today at about 8 p.m. my time. That's usually 8 and 9 p.m. my time, and Eastern Standard Time. That's usually the high point for video game releases, it seems. At least Western games. That's when, I think Veilguard, that's when Veilguard hit its highest points and all that. After that, it kind of peters out a little bit. I guess most of your East and West Coast players in the U.S. are on, at that time. I don't know. I think maybe Sunday it'll get another boost. Will it top that 2163? Tell me what you guys think. Maybe it'll hit. It's not going to go by much. Maybe 25, 3,000 tops. Is it going to continue to climb, or is it just going to kind of waver around the 2,000 mark? It's going to be interesting to see what happens with it. And if it does get an update, is it going to help these numbers? Is it going to pump these numbers up? Because Ubisoft's in a lot of trouble right now. You know, and Assassin's Creed Shadows is coming out next year. This game's highly controversial. You know, I've criticized it quite a bit for the decisions they've made in its character designs and other things, amongst other things. And you know, these guys got to get it together, man, if they want to continue moving forward as a game developer. Otherwise, they're going to be shutting the doors eventually. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications. Thanks for watching, everyone. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault. I'll see you next time. Until then, peace.